A very good morning, my dear students. Today I am here to talk to you about the dentigerous cyst. I hope my class will be an informative one. So let's begin today's session. Kramer in the year 1974 have defined cyst as a pathological cavity lined by an epithelium having fluid, semi-fluid or a gaseous content and which is not created by the accumulation of pus. The cyst can be divided into an odontogenic cyst, non-odontogenic cyst, a neck cyst and a pseudocyst. Mostly all the cysts are lined by the epithelium except the pseudocyst, whereas in case of pseudocyst there will be an absence of epithelium. Generally, we will see three elements in a cyst, that is a lumen, a lining epithelium and a connective tissue wall. So this picture can see a lumen, a lining and a connective tissue wall. So in lumen there will be a fluid, semi-fluid or a gaseous type of content will be present. The epithelial lining, the lining it might be often a keratinized stratified squamous epithelium or a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. It mainly depends upon what type of cyst we are going to see. And moving on to the connective tissue wall, even the connective tissue wall, you will see an fibrous connective tissue wall, sometimes even a dental follicle type of connective tissue wall, even an inflammatory type of connective tissue wall will be seen. So that is also depend upon what type of the cyst it is. So far we have seen the general characteristic features of a cyst. Today my lecture is about dentigerous cyst. Dentigerous cyst is the second most commonest odontogenic cyst, and you people know the most commonest odontogenic cyst is the radicular cyst. Almost the 20% of odontogenic cyst is of dentigerous cyst. The epithelium of the dentigerous cyst is derived from the epithelium produced during the tooth development. Now you just see the left side picture. In the left side picture you can see an unerupted teeth and it is covered by a reduced enamel epithelium. The covering of the reduced enamel epithelium is from CEJ to the CEJ. The reduced enamel epithelium consists of an inner enamel epithelium and the outer enamel epithelium. This reduced enamel epithelium protects the enamel until it erupts the oral cavity. Now we'll see the right side picture. In the right side picture also you can see an unerupted teeth. You can see a reduced enamel epithelium and the attachment of reduced enamel epithelium is from CEJ to CEJ. But there is a difference between a left side picture and the right side picture. The only difference is there is a separation between a reduced enamel epithelium and the crown surface. So this right side picture shows you the dentigerous cyst and that separation will be filled by a fluid. So the dentigerous cyst can be defined as an accumulation of fluid between a reduced enamel epithelium and the crown surface. So you have to remember three things regarding dentigerous cyst, that is an unerupted teeth, 2 a separation, 3 an attachment. That is the dentigerous cyst always involves the unerupted teeth. Second, separation. So you will always see a separation between the reduced enamel epithelium and the crown surface. Third, the attachment. The attachment you will see always from one CEJ to CEJ. So these three things is very important regarding the dentigerous cyst. Just remember these three aspects. Now moving on to the other names of dentigerous cyst. The dentigerous cyst can be otherwise called as follicular cyst and it can be otherwise called as pericoronal cyst. So the cyst is separated by the follicle, hence they have given a name called as follicular cyst. And the cyst is attached to the tooth at the CEJ and it surrounds the crown of a tooth. So they have given a term called as pericoronal, hence the name pericoronal cyst have been given. So in exam, The dentigerous cyst can be asked as a follicular or a pericoronal. Likewise, in viva, examiner might ask you, tell me the clinical features of follicular cyst. So in whatever names they ask, you have to tell about the dentigerous cyst. Now we'll see the pathogenesis of dentigerous cyst. So the dentigerous cyst, it can be of a developmental type of dentigerous cyst and an inflammatory type of a dentigerous cyst. So the developmental type of dentigerous cyst, the etiology will be unknown etiology. So we will see the sequence of events happening in a developmental type of dentigerous cyst. So there will be an unerupted tooth will be there, that covered by a reduced enamel epithelium will be seen. So first there will be a separation of a reduced enamel epithelium and the crown will happen, followed by the accumulation of fluid between the reduced enamel epithelium and the enamel surface will happen, followed by the increase in the size of the cyst happens. So this is how the developmental type of dentigerous cyst happens. Now we'll see the inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. On the right side you can see in radiograph there is a primary molar with a dental caries and then periapical infection is there. So underneath that you can able to see an impacted mandibular second premolar. So what happened in this situation is there is a dental caries that involves the pulp. So that infection have spread to the periapical area. So that periapical infection have entered the reduced enamel epithelium that is present over the permanent mandibular second premolar. So once the infection entered the reduced enamel epithelium, so there will be a formation of dentigerous cyst happens. So this is one example. The other example is you can see a partially erupted mandibular third molar is seen. So that partially erupted third molar have a small tissue over it. We will call it as an pericoronitis. If the pericoronitis is occurring again and again, so that might turn into a dentigerous cyst. So this is very rarely happen, but sometimes this type of dentigerous cyst is also happens. So the main thing what you have to remember from this particular slide is there is two type of dentigerous cyst. One is a developmental, the other one is an inflammatory type. Okay, and the etiology for the developmental is unknown, and the etiology for the inflammatory is the inflammation. Okay, so the most common between these two is almost 90% of dentigerous cyst it is of a developmental type, and a 10% of the dentigerous cyst it can be of an inflammatory origin. என்னடா டென்டிஜரஸ் சிஸ்ட் போயிட்டு இருக்குது, என்னடா திடீர்னு இந்த ஸ்லைடில் வந்து ஹேண்ட்ஸமான ஒரு 3 பேரோட ஃபோட்டோ இருக்குது அப்படின்னு நீங்கள் நினைக்கலாம். இதுக்கு டைட்டில் வேற கிளினிக்கல் ஃபீச்சர்ஸ்னு வேற இவர் கொடுத்துருக்கிறாருன்னு கூட நீங்கள் நினைக்கலாம். ஒருவேளை இவங்க 3 பேருக்கும் டென்டிஜரஸ் சிஸ்ட் இருக்குமோ அப்படின்னு திங்கிங் வரலாம். கண்டிப்பாக இவங்க 3 பேருக்கும் டென்டிஜரஸ் சிஸ்ட் இல்லை. ஓகேவா? ஸோ டென்டிஜரஸ் சிஸ்ட்லாம் இல்லை. ஸோ விஜயோ இல்லை அகிலோ இல்லை ஜஸ்டினோ இவங்க 3 பேர் வந்து உங்களை யாருக்காவது ஒரு ட்ரீம் பாயாக கூட இருக்கலாம். ஸோ உங்களோட ட்ரீம் பாய் ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சுன்னா, ஒரு கல்யாணம் பண்ணிக்க போகிற பையன் ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சுன்னா, ஒரு 3 கிளினிக்கல் ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் வந்து நீங்கள் ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கலாம். ஸோ உங்களோட ட்ரீம் பாய், ஸோ இட் அக்கர்ஸ் யூஸ்வலி இன் மேல். ஸோ டென்டிஜரஸ் சிஸ்ட் மேல்ஸில் தான் அக்கர் ஆகும். செகண்டு, அழகான பையன் தான் வேணும்னு ஆசைப்படுவீங்க. ஸோ it occurs usually in white males. Second pointer. Third pointer, it usually occurs in 10 to 30 years and most commonly seen in 20 to 30 years. So in the age group la தான் வந்து மெயின் அக்கர் ஆகும். ஸோ பர்ஃபெக்டாக ஒரு பையன் வேணும்னா ஒரு 20 to 30 years மேலு ஒயிட்டாக இருக்கணும். ஸோ எல்லாத்தும் டிக் அடிச்சிருச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் உங்கள் ட்ரீம் பாயை. ஸோ உங்கள் ட்ரீம் பாய் ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சுன்னா இந்த பாயிண்ட்ஸ் எழுதிக்கலாம். So coming on to the clinical feature, so the dentigerous cyst commonly seen in males, and it is usually occur between 10 to 30 years of age, and it occurs in white males. Definitely, I hope you remember these three clinical feature points 100% ஞாபகம் வச்சுப்பீங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Okay, we'll move on to the other features. Now moving on to the location where the dentigerous is present, it is most commonly seen in the impacted mandibular third molar. That is the most commonest area for a dentigerous. The second most commonest area is the impacted maxillary canine, and we have to differentiate this dentigerous from adenomatous odontogenic tumor, because the commonest area for the adenomatous odontogenic tumor is maxillary canine region. So in both the cases there will be a lesion that surrounds the crown of the teeth will be seen. The only difference between these two is there will be an CEJ to CEJ attachment in case of a dentigerous, whereas in case of AOT you will not have any CEJ to CEJ attachment. And also this is how we will differentiate between these two lesions. Other than that, you can able to see the dentigerous cyst in the maxillary third molar region as well as in the mandibular second premolar region. Other than this, even the supernumerary teeth will have dentigerous cyst, and usually the maxillary mesiodents will have a dentigerous cyst comparing to the other supernumerary teeth. Now we will see the clinical presentation of dentigerous cyst. Usually dentigerous cyst is a solitary lesion, so it can be a painless or a painful type. It can be of a small size or a large size dentigerous cyst. The small size dentigerous cyst usually a painless type of dentigerous cyst, and patient will not come with any complaints regarding a dentigerous cyst, whereas the patient will come for an other dental problems. During the routine radiographic technique we can able to identify the small size dentigerous cyst. Whereas the large size dentigerous cyst, there will be an expansion of bone happens. You can see in the right side picture, you can able to see an expansion of maxillary bone is seen. So there will be an expansion of bone. There will be a displacement of teeth will be present intraorally, and extraorally if you see there will be a facial asymmetry will be present. And in large dentigerous cyst also it is a painless lesion. So when the dentigerous cyst will get painful, if it is secondarily infected, the dentigerous cyst will become painful in nature. Whereas a normal characteristic feature of a dentigerous cyst is a painless. So these are all the clinical feature and the clinical presentation of dentigerous cyst. Now we'll see the radiographic features of dentigerous cyst. So dentigenesis radiographically appeared as a well-defined unilocular radiolucency surrounding an unerupted teeth. You will see a well-defined sclerotic margins will be present. The adjacent tooth resorption will be seen, and the displacement of tooth will be present. In case of a large dentigenesis, even an expansion of cortical bone will be seen in case of radiograph. That expansion can be seen through an occlusal type of radiograph. So in the left side picture shows you a classic dentigerous cyst. You can see an unilocular radiolucency, and the attachment is from CEJ to CEJ. So well-defined radiolucency can be seen in the left side picture. Now in the right side picture, you can see the third molar impacted, and you can see some root resorption in the second molar. So here the root resorption has been seen. That is mainly due to the presence of reduced enamel epithelium that is present in the dentigerous cyst. So that reduced enamel epithelium have a capacity to resorb the bone as well as the tooth. Next, we will see the radiographic variants of a dentigerous cyst. So radiographically, the dentigerous cyst is of three variants, that is a central variant, a lateral variant, and a circumferential variant. When the crown is enveloped symmetrically, then we will call it as a central variant of a dentigerous cyst. When the dilatation of the follicle is on one aspect of the crown, then we will call it as a lateral variant of a dentigerous cyst. When the follicle expands and the entire tooth is enveloped by a cyst, then we will call it as the circumferential type of a dentigerous cyst. So this picture tells you the same. In this slide you can see two pictures. So the right side picture indicates a dentigerous cyst. You can see in classic CJ to CJ attachment, a unilocular radiolucency can be seen. So in the left side picture also there is a unilocular radiolucency surrounding an unerupted teeth is seen, but there is a little difference between these two pictures. Yes, there is a difference in a follicular space. Yes, the left side picture is the enlarged follicle and the right side picture is the dentigerous cyst. So if the follicular space is less than 4 or at 5 mm, then we will term it as an enlarged follicle, and if the follicular space is more than 5 mm, then we will term it as a dentigerous cyst. So this is how we will differentiate between an enlarged follicle and a dentigerous cyst. So we should also differentiate the dentigerous cyst from the other cyst as well as from the odontogenic tumor, which is at most important. And there are few rare cases where you will see a multilocular type of radiolucency. So if a multilocular type of radiolucency is present, don't rule out the dentigerous cyst. Sometimes even a rare case have a multilocular type of radiolucency. So not all the cases you will get a classic picture like you see in the right side picture. There are few rare cases also, a few infected type of cases also are there. So with the radiographic features and the clinical features, we cannot able to come to one conclusion. Definitely we need a histopathological features to give a final diagnosis. Now we'll see the histopathology of dentigerous cyst. Normally, a cyst in histopathology have three components, that is a lumen, a lining epithelium, and a capsule, that is the connective tissue. So in dentigerous cyst, the epithelium is lined by a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and the thickness of the epithelium is of 2 to 4 cell thickness. The epithelium and the connective tissue interface is flat, that is, there will be an absence of rete ridges is seen. The shape of the cell is cuboidal shape or a flat shaped cells will be present. Sometimes in the superficial layer, the epithelial lining will have a low columnar type of cells that mimics the morphology of an ameloblast. Now we'll move on to the connective tissue capsule. So in the connective tissue, you will see a thin fibrous cyst wall that is derived from the dental follicle. You can able to see an young fibroblast which is separated from the stroma on the ground substance. You can see a black marking over the histopathological picture. So that black marking indicates the islands and strands of odontogenic epithelial rest. So these are all the common findings of a dentigerous cyst. So other than this, there are few findings is also seen that we will see now. Sometimes even the mucus producing cells will be present over the epithelial lining. So there will be a presence of mucus or ciliated types of cells will be seen over the epithelial lining. So in the left side picture, you can see one red color arrow. So that arrow indicates the ciliated cells. So these cells are mainly due to the metaplasia, and usually The mucus producing cells and the ciliated cells are mainly seen in case of an maxillary dentigerous cyst. So if a dentigerous cyst occurs in the maxillary area, usually we will see a mucus or a ciliated type of cells. So in the right side picture, you can see some eosinophilic mass over the epithelium. So that indicates an hyaline body, or we can call it as a rustan body. So usually these changes are seen when there is an inflammation in the dentigerous cyst. That is, the inflamed type of dentigerous cyst might have these type of changes. So this picture shows you the inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. So in inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst, the epithelium is of non-keratinized, and sometimes it can be keratinized stratified squamous epithelium also. The thickness of epithelium will be more in case of an inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. It can be of a 10 to 30 cell layer thickness. Sometimes even reti ridges will be present. So in this slide, you can able to see some 8 to 10 layer thickness. That black arrow indicates it. So moving on to the connective tissue component will not resemble like that of your dental follicle. Here, in an inflamed type of dentigerous cyst, you will see numerous amount of inflammatory cells, and there will be more amount of blood vessels and an extra vesiculated RBCs will be seen. So these are all the things that you will see in case of an inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. In previous slide, I have told sometimes you will see an rustan or an hyaline bodies in case of an inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. So I hope you understand the histopathology of the developmental as well as the inflammatory type of dentigerous cyst. So in this slide, you can able to see two pictures at the top. First, I will explain about that picture. So both the picture looks identical with this magnification, but it is not of same. So the picture in the left side is the dentigerous cyst, whereas the picture in the right side is an unicystic ameloblastoma luminal type. So we have to differentiate dentigerous cyst and unicystic ameloblastoma. So for that, Vickers and Gorlin have given 4 criteria to differentiate it. Now we'll see what are all the criteria is. So the below picture, if you see, so that explains the Vickers and Gorlin criteria. So you can see, and peripherally a tall columnar cell is seen. A reversal of polarity is seen, that is the nucleus is pushed away from the basement membrane, and nucleus is hypochromatic nucleus can be seen, and below the nucleus there is a subnuclear vacuolization is present. So if these 4 criteria are seen, then we have to term that as an ameloblastoma, that is an unicystic ameloblastoma. If these criteria are not there, then we can term it as a dentigerous cyst. So I will just remind you the Vickers and Gorlin criteria again. So first, you should see a peripherally tall columnar cell. Second, there should be a reversal of polarity. A third, a hyperchromatic nuclei, and the fourth is a subnuclear vacuolization. So far, we have seen all the histopathological features of dentigerous cyst and its differential diagnosis also. I hope you have understood the histopathological features. Now we'll see the treatment of dentigerous cyst. The dentigerous cyst can be treated using an enucleation or using a marsupialization procedure. So if the cyst is of small in size, then we can go for an enucleation. But if the dentigerous cyst is of large in size, then we will go for a marsupialization procedure followed by the surgical excision of the cyst. So the recurrence rate of a dentigerous cyst is very low, so it will not recur usually. The complication, if you see the complication, the dentigerous cyst can turn into a squamous cell carcinoma, or it can even turn into an ameloblastoma. So far we have seen each and every aspect of a dentigerous cyst. We have started off with its definition, then we have seen about its pathogenesis, clinical feature, radiographic feature, histopathological feature, and the treatment. I hope you understand each and every aspect of dentigerous cyst. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you are much clearer about today's topic. In case if you have any doubts regarding the subject, you can ask all your doubts through the Google form. So try to submit your Google form as early as possible. For your kind information in Google form, your name, date and time will be noted. Have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you.